Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, the U.S. has some of the safest drinking water on the planet, but there are a lot of people working behind the scenes to make sure that's true. That's next.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, we all take it for granted when you turn on that tap and get a nice cold glass of water that it's safe to drink, but famously the Flint water system was contaminated. We all remember Aaron Brockovich, the movie. A man who is very concerned with safe drinking water is Josiah Cox. He's the CEO of Central States Water Resources. Thanks for coming on the show.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me today.
Well, I was blown away that you guys own 300 water systems across the country.
We do. We've got 300 water and wastewater systems across 6 states right now. In fact, we just got approved to buy another 30 in the state of Mississippi. And by the end of this year, we believe we'll have around 420 across 10 states potentially.
And you specialize in small water systems, so sometimes you're coming in kind of a distressed situation in which this water system is in trouble.
Absolutely. We really focus on distressed water and wastewater systems. It's interesting. The U.S. market is one of the most fragmented water and wastewater markets in the world. There are 58,000 water utilities and 35,000 sewer utilities. In England, I think there's between 17 and 27 utilities, just to give you, how big the disparity is. And really what that means is there are a ton of really small micro utilities. They're often built, the same kind of can-do spirit that's built this country has brought developers to greenfield developments and, really kind of put infrastructure to support housing. Well, the infrastructure is becoming antiquated as we speak. And the Clean Water Act kind of regulates water and wastewater is an increasingly more stringent act over time as we find more pollutants that are damaging to both the environment and potentially toxic for people. And so that means a plant that you've been built 10 years ago may not meet modern EPA requirements.
We're going to put up a map so people can see how vast your company is. Do these water systems come to you, or do you learn about them, or how does your company grow?
Yeah, so we've built a database of every water and wastewater system in the United States. And so then we've sorted those, so we don't really go after the big municipal systems. So, the big towns of 20,000 people that take a referendum, we don't do that. We really focus on small private water and wastewater systems. So we've gone to the states, the highest amount of fragmentation, so the most small systems, and the states that have the most violations. So where you're really seeing public health and environmental risk, those are the states we focus on. And then since all of these water and wastewater systems have federal ID tags, we're able to track down the owners and start conversations with them. And it's interesting, some owners really know they're in trouble and are really glad to hear from somebody who's willing to buy a small system. There's not a huge market for people going to buy these. Some people in these rural markets don't believe they should be regulated. So it's oftentimes some education for owners, like, hey, you really need to get out of the business. So it's a whole we have a vast array of potential sellers that we deal with on a daily basis.
And you have countless success stories. We found one on your website that I want to draw attention to, Elm Hills, Missouri. Will you tell people that story?
Yeah, absolutely. So that system, Elm Hills, consists of 2 wastewater systems originally and 1 water system. 1 water and wastewater system was in state-appointed receivership. So really it's a form of bankruptcy where the owners had walked away from the system and kind of left the keys there, and the state had to take it over. In that scenario, the drinking water system was a railroad tanker car on cinder blocks. When we opened up that railroad tanker car, it had 6 inches of rust sludge. It had been like that for over a decade. that community, obviously faced human health risks, exposure to pathogens, all of that. And the wastewater system was actually a failed series of lagoons that didn't even have a permit to discharge. So it was illegally discharging the time we took it over. The wastewater plant was dumping into a golf course pond. So it really effectively turned a golf course pond into a sewage lagoon and was dumping untreated sewage into a neighboring water body. So we did a complete turnaround of that system, replaced the water system, tied it into a nearby municipality to bring safe, reliable drinking water to that community, did a whole new mechanical systems and replaced a bunch of lagoon components. So now you're getting safely treated wastewater being put into the receiving stream nearby. The other wastewater system was an antiquated mechanical plant that had failed and was dumping, there was sludge going into a neighboring state park. So there's a 2,000-foot sludge blanket going into a state park, a Missouri state park, that actually had recreational access, further down, attached to that receiving water body. So remediated all that in the state park, did a complete, rehabilitation, new tanks, new system, and turned that whole plant around to where it's now, producing safe, reliable wastewater that it's safe to discharge into the state park.
Well, let's talk about ransomware because famously right around the time of the Super Bowl, there was a ransomware attack on a water system in Florida. And recently we saw the pipeline ransomware attack. If I'm the CEO of your company, that's the kind of stuff that keeps me up at night. How do you deal with that? How does your industry deal with that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say that is our near and present danger for our industry, especially for the mom and pop operations that kind of exist all across the country. That particular situation in Florida was a situation where there were shared login credentials on an antiquated computer system. In fact, the only thing that prevented disaster in that particular situation was the fact that the operators were paying attention to what was happening manually and were able to stop, a potentially dangerous poisoning situation. For us, we're really big on outsourcing our computer security to the big guys, the Amazon clouds of the world, so that we're supported by some of the most sophisticated cybersecurity people, and it's not something that we have to manage ourselves as a utility. So lets me sleep well at night.
Absolutely. Well, Josiah, we got about a minute left. What would you like to leave the audience with?
Yeah, one of the things that we talk about in our company all the time is that the water infrastructure crisis that you kind of read about in the news, it's not looming, it's already here in small communities across the United States. And, we're a private solution to very public problems. So it's great to wake up every day and know that what you're doing is meaningful for, communities kind of across the country. And it's something we're looking to expand. So a lot of people that need our help, a lot of communities that need our reinvestment, and we're excited to go do that.
Outstanding. Well, you've been a great guest. We're going to have you back again soon. The website is centralstateswaterresources.com. Josiah Cox, the CEO. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. And that's it for now. We'll see you next time.